15 Kilo Heavy, Roger, 7 miles from Zolf, both clear ILS runway 22 left approach.
Okay, yeah, could be ILS 22 left, please, 15 Kilo.
Hello guys, welcome back to another P3D V5.2 video. Today I'm bringing you actually a different video. I'm going to be, well, on your request, actually multiple requests from you guys. So you wanted to see a P3D V5.2 video, well, or should I say P3D V5 settings video. So what I've decided to do is, as I've got some free time now, I'm just gonna record you guys a P3D V5 video, settings video. I actually want to showcase in this video a couple things, just not P3D V5 settings, but also stuff like Envtex. I will show you my active sky cloud art settings. I will show you my active sky settings, and also my Nvidia control settings. I know a lot of people want to see that because, yeah, it's a bit important, as that's basically the way I limit my FPS. But that's onto it when we actually get to that part of the video. But for now, what we'll do is we'll hop into the settings page in P3D V5, and then I'll go basically take you through my settings and maybe explain some bits and bobs for you guys. So yes, stick around, and yeah, hopefully you take some notes out of this video. Okay guys, so onto the display settings, because I'm not going to go through any of these above. There's simply no point. Sorry about the cough, some caught COVID, so yeah, I'm diagnosed COVID, so yeah, coughing a little bit. So onto the display settings. Let me begin with the fact that I've actually got a custom profile. Probably not perfect, but it does the job, I guess. Let's actually begin. So image and texture quality, I have FX AA off, and then AA 4x MSAA. I feel like going any higher will actually start killing your FPS, but I mean, if you have the power in your computer, then I guess you can. It won't kill that much of FPS, but you will see an impact on FPS. Texture filtering is times 16. Basically, it filters out the texture as quickly as it can. Yeah, as it says here, it appears less blocky. Basically, it helps it smoothing out the textures. Basically, texture resolution is at high. I don't put it on ultra due to the fact that is actually an FPS killer. I tried on ultra and my FPS just died on ultra. I'm not gonna lie. I was running at like, we're talking like 16, 17 FPS because it just, or maybe it's just my computer. I don't know. But it didn't work. It didn't work in the way I actually wanted it to work, so I decided to stick to high anyway. It looks nice, and the impact isn't too big on your FPS. Oh yeah, I felt like ultra. I mean, it looks nice and everything, but just high. I feel like I just felt like high was best for me. VSync on, triple buffering on. Target frame is unlimited. VSync is on due to the fact my computer is literally VSync. And it's also got G-Sync, so I'll utilize that, smoothens out my gameplay for me, for my eye. Triple buffering helps that even more, basically. Enables VSync and increases the performance as well, as you can see, and it kind of introduces slight lag, but I don't really notice that too much. To be fair, only when I switch cameras that can actually appear a couple times. Target frame is unlimited, but the frames are actually limited in the Nvidia control panel, which will be shown later for you guys. That's pretty much over here. I'm using 1920 by 1080 as well, if anyone wants to know that. To the most important bit on the world, so terrain, level of detail radius, ultra, tesselation factor high, mesh resolution 10 meters, and text resolution 30. So let's begin with the top bit. Level of detail radius, ultra, I felt like that was enough for me. So at distance is obviously ultra, but in all fairness, it still looks blurry, so I felt like ultra was enough. Tesselation factor, keep it high. Not even gonna lie to you guys, I don't really know what that means, but yeah, I keep on high because I mean I don't see I basically tried on ultra and there was no difference, so I just kept on high. Don't know if it impacts FPS as well, so I didn't test that bit out. These two I actually have played around with. Honestly, at 7 there's no difference, but I know some sceneries do require you to have 7. I don't personally do it at 7. Never in my life I did it, and I never will. Just because I feel like 30 and 7 there is a big difference, but between like FPS, it's gonna hit your FPS. So unless you're running some kind of monster, looking at RTX 3090 or something like that, I don't think you're gonna get away with 7 and having these so high up as well. Mesh resolution is simply the mesh of the actual scenery, so yes, simply put, the higher you go, the crisper the mesh gets. But I don't really find having high resolution mesh and texture that important, so long as it's fine for me. Also, sometimes these two can have a FPS impact, but yeah. Scenery objects, this is where the actual FPS lies on. And each of these sides will actually have a huge impact on your FPS, so I will actually play around with these. This is the killer for the FPS for everyone. So scenery complexity for me, I put on very dense, but this is due to the fact, don't get me wrong guys, but I like to have a lot of objects and a lot of stuff going on in my scenes. I just can't fly into a plane, airport, with like no surrounding. It just looks weird and it doesn't look natural, and it just doesn't make me feel satisfied. That's why these are quite high up, apart from this one, but this is, we'll talk about that later. So scenery complexity, very dense, due to the fact it makes the scenery complexity very dense. Simply put, it says it in the title. It's gonna make a scenery complex, from like buildings to trees to, I don't know, other details. It's gonna basically, this decides like how many buildings to place or how many buildings should spawn or something like that. This is decided, that's the scenery complexity slider. That's basically what it's going to decide for you. Autogen scenery distance high. It's basically how far you can see your scenery. So the higher you put this, the higher away you can see your scenery. So like buildings and trees and just textures of the apple, for example. See a further distance, but that will kill your FPS because that requires you more. Your basic GPU to work harder to render stuff in a distance, so it's gonna have a huge impact on your FPS. This is a killer for FPS, so I would be careful with this slider. Play that around. Also, feel free to screenshot any of these. Yeah. Auto-generate vegetation. For me, vegetation is important, but not as much. I prefer having more buildings and vegetation, to be fair. That wasn't dense. I mean, it's enough anyway. Having it dense is enough. I know some people like to crank it up to very dense, but I'm not really too bothered. There is a big difference though between dense and very dense. Don't get me wrong. I did a test in this. I might put some pictures in if I have any spare ones. I'm not sure though. But there is a lot of difference between dense and very dense. There's a lot more trees in very dense, but it does kill your FPS. There is a huge impact on FPS. And I think it was, to be exact, it was like I looked at Krakow, Swiecki design, and I went from dense to very dense. I went high up to the same point, and I was getting 80 FPS at dense, and I was getting 68 at very dense, so there is like 12 FPS difference. I don't know if it's that big of an impact, but Jesus Christ, that's a lot to me, so I was like, nope. Switch back to dense, it look fine. Autogen building density, as I said, like my buildings, so the higher that you go, the more buildings you get. So simply put, I put it on very dense just due to the fact I like to have a lot of buildings and approach. I like to look at the scenery, I like to have those wing views and nice screenshots of buildings as well. So yeah, road lights on dense because when I fly at night, simply put, I like to have a lot of road lights. There we go. Water details on low. I do put this up to medium when I fly into airports with a lot of water, but I actually don't see that much of a difference. Plus FPS isn't that much of a difference either. I don't have a clue what this is. Clouds and user vehicles, I have ticked. Special effects, detail and distance on medium. Basically, it's just stuff like, I don't know, your tire smoke and your smoke coming out of chimneys and stuff like that. Fireworks also, something like that. Medium is perfectly fine. You don't really see that much of smoke anywhere on arrival unless you watch a replay or something like that, but that's about it. Unless you're in the external view for your landing, but yeah. Enhanced atmospherics are off, but I will be turning them on. I'm going to start flying with enhanced atmospherics just to see how it works now in V5.2 as I haven't tried it yet. Currently using Active Sky Cloud Art for my clouds and Envtex as well. Volumetric fog, wind chill effect, and turbulence and thermal are on. I like to keep these on. They enhance the weather, it makes it more realistic. Natural thermal visualization, and weather change rate is no change because Active Sky is injecting my weather, and cloud draw distance is on 90 because when I put it to 110 it just goes back to 90, so it stays at 90. Cloud coverage density is on maximum. My lighting, I have enabled HDR. These stay or default as the game came, and dynamic reflections are on low, which should be actually a medium. I don't know what I know. And actually I will count that to medium now. The amount of reflections basically means global reflections, so something like your strobe lights on the actual runway, I don't know, so a taxiway basically, that's what's going to be displayed on there. Dynamic lighting, important for a lot of scenery developers. If you have pay with scenery, this is important. You have that ticked on top of your dynamic lighting. Shadow quality low, and shadow draw distance on medium. Low shadow quality due to the fact I don't really care about the shadows, but I like to have them, but they don't have to be crisp, like really crisp, so not really bother. So long as it's a shadow there, and shadow draw distance, I don't need them at a further distance, basically. Medium is more than enough. I don't look that much on the shadows anyway, as I fly airliner, so it's easy. Right, so onto the active sky cloud. I'm not actually going to do the active sky settings because I haven't changed nothing in them. Also, so as they come out of the box, guys, that's how I did it. I didn't change nothing. I don't see the point of changing anything in there as well, unless you have, I don't know, other settings you want, like refresh rate times different or something like that. But onto the settings. How it came out of the box is a lie, because over here what I did was for the Cyrus and Cloud textures, I actually put them down because they were up here, like that. I put these down because simply put, FPS also saving. 1040 by 1040 is more than enough. Because I use obviously Envtex, I have this ticked on for Envtex, and then I'm using Envtex clouds as well, and also the cloud structure is from actually Active Sky. So for sky colors, I have it ticked because Active Sky, Clouder, and Envtex basically combine together and they work together for the sky texture. So that's why the sky colors are that way. Sorry about the squeaking chairs, I can hear it. But yeah, those two stay off because I'm simply using Envtex clouds. They just look better than the Active Sky Cloud ones. As I said, I will be moving into enhanced atmospheric, so I actually think it looks nice. So yeah, but that's pretty much the Active Sky Cloud. I mean, there's not really much apart from, as I said, the Cyrus and Cloud textures. I will put them down to medium because, yeah, it still looks nice in the sim. You see my sim, it looks nice. I mean, it doesn't look nice, but it looks okay-ish, flyable. Let's call it that way. And saves FPS. So yeah, it's all about FPS pretty much in flight sim. So long as I'm getting above 30, it's all good. This is like the bare minimum I want in my flight sim. So that is the Active Sky Cloud settings. Okay guys, so this is my NVDirect. Simply put, it's just that plugin based I have to use for Envtex and Envshade. Quickly go into these. Well, I'm not even going to show you these. There's not even a single point on me using these showing you because everyone has their own preference. Setting wise though, so these are all enabled. Every single thing is enabled. The only thing that I've actually changed was, I'm pretty sure these. So the Cumulus and Cyrus clouds. I'm pretty sure I put them down as well. It doesn't really have an impact on me. It looks pretty much the same because these are quite high normally, so it's going to take up your FPS, no point. But yeah, that's pretty much. I'll just do a screenshot. There's not really much to talk about this bit. Yeah, it's just says. What I'm going to say is, there's not really much change. It comes however you install it. That's what I did. Stayed as it came out of the box. That's basically a stay default. But onto Envshade. This has also come out like out of the box, so I just enabled shaders and clicked save and then launch Active Sim. Sorry, install to sim and then launch Active Sim, and that's just basically it. Yeah, stayed also out of the box this. So however I installed it, it stayed out of the box, and that's the default settings basically. If you want enhanced atmospherics, you enable this on. And then this is the second bit, and that's I'm pretty sure for the Envy sound, which I don't have. So that is the Envtex settings. But I told you it's not really that much to show you in this video. So moving on to the last bit probably of the video. So this is the Nvidia control panel. This is only going to actually benefit anyone with an Nvidia card. But yeah, this is how I tend to utilize the actual point of locking frames. Because it does actually benefit you, to be fair. I have tested it without locking frames, and I have tested it with locking frames. It makes the game a lot smoother. But I only lock it to 30 FPS. I know some people get a lot higher than me, so locking it higher could be also smarter. Probably is smarter as well. But this all stays the same. The only two things that I've actually changed is this max frame rate is 30 FPS, so the game would actually, well, not the game, but the actual control panel will actually lock the FPS to 30. Or should I say not lock, but as soon as it detects the game going over 30 FPS at any point, it's going to lock it to 30, so it basically won't go above 30 simply put. It helps in basically smoothing out the game while you're having a still good experience, I guess, because the higher I went, I used to realize that like texture loading was worse. So like buildings weren't loading as quick, so it was all loading late. And I realized that if I lock the frames, it helped the buildings load and also the textures in the distance and the scenery load in quicker, because simply put, you're not using as much power because you're saving power with 30 FPS because your card isn't being overused. It's literally it. So it does help with loading textures and scenery in the distance and just scenery in general surrounding you, clouds, everything. It simply just helps sim load stuff in, which is good because P3D has a huge issue that I realized, just loading stuff in. And then also power management mode, I have it preferred to maximum performance. Simply put, the card is working at its maximum power when P3D is on, and that's how it's going to stay because I need maximum power when I'm recording. So I'm getting that crisp 30 FPS because I'm not really a guy that's bothered by more. But this is really important in my opinion. 30 FPS, locking to 30 FPS is going to help a lot, especially with the loading of the scenery. I know a lot of people have an issue with that, so locking it to 30 is going to help you a lot with this whole textures, buildings, and all of that loading in. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and jot down anything in the comments that you would recommend to me maybe changing, so I can change. Would help me out. That'd be quite cool. Maybe I don't have the perfect settings, and I for sure don't. But it would be really nice if you guys could help me out as well, so we can help each other out. So yeah, thanks for watching the video, and I will be hopping off. Happy flying and happy landings. See you in the next.